Hello, everyone. It's Callum here, and guess what? It's pack one, pick one time. For those of you who don't know what that is, it means I open a booster of Monarch First Edition, look at what's inside, and take my first pick as if I was sitting down to do a draft. And then I get other members of the LSS team in here, and they take their first picks, and then we kind of compare to see who would take what, which directions people would go down. And you can feel free to tell us what you would take in the comments and who you agree with. All right, let's get stuck into this booster pack. Remove the token, and I'm going to put these cards into their classes and talents and generics up here. Ooh, okay. Nice. And right, we've got some interesting picks for sure. This Valiant Thrust leaps out at me to begin with. I mean, it's a resource card, being blue, but when you've charged, it gets +3. So this is a 1 attack for 5, which is very nice. And of course, because it gets +3, you can use Bolton's hero power to give it go again, which is very nice. There's a nice Herald here. There's a Convulsions from the Bellows of Hell, which, as I have tell everyone, is my favorite card name. It's a good resource card for Levia, and it can have a lot of utility in the late game, being able to give a big attack dominate. The Ironhide Legs is a nice one. And there's a Void Wraith red, which allows us to kind of stay open. This is actually a really tough pick for me. I think the Express Lightning's also nice, as is the Take Flight. There's some very good Bolton cards here. But we're kind of evenly split between the classes, except for Prism, where there's only one card. So it's difficult to tell in terms of sending signals. I think I'm going to commit, and I think I'm going to take the Valiant Thrust here. I think it's just a really good card. It's nice to have resource cards that then can become powerful attacks in the late game, which this does very well. So that's my first pick. But let's see what the others think.
Alright, so I opened my pack and I've realized that this pack is very class-based. As you can see, there is only one generic in this whole pack, which isn't very good. So there's a lot of class cards at the bottom. I try to stay away from class cards, as I do not want to be I don't want to feel like I'm locked into a certain hero, so these will be later picks. So one of my picks will be from these 6 cards. I believe that I will pick Impenetrable Belief, just because a 2-cost 5 isn't bad in limited. But its most important effect is it's a 1-card block that blocks 4 against Shadow Heroes, which is very strong and limited.
All right, welcome guys to another Pick One, Pack One. It's your boy Jacob Pearson. So today this is the pack that we're looking at together. Now the first thing that really strikes me is the generics are terrible, so we can go ahead and toss this in the trash. Yellow Wootenhog, not very strong, doesn't have the 6 power for breaking prism attacks. Very medium, blocks for 2, yellow pitch. Might as well be a cracked bauble. And then we're left with 2 decent shadow cards. Red Void Wrath, blue Ghostly Visit, both fine. Again, 2 medium light cards over here with a blue and Seek Alignment. That's fine. And a red Impenetrable Belief. Very strong card in certain matchups. You can even bring it again against that being a red card. It's a half decent threat. And sometimes if your opposing Bolton, for example, has stacked up a really big soul and they manage to go with a couple go again attacks and then finish off with like an Axe for 4 on the end of a big combat chain, you can use this as a 4 block even in that matchup. The only one where it doesn't really realistically happen is Prism, because she doesn't really have a way banishing multiple cards per turn. That being said, however, I see a premium red Illusionist card all by itself over here. Taking this is a very strong signal to the person on your left that you are Prism, that you're going to be Prism, and that you're going to be slam dunking every class card from here to the end of time. So that's very single. Or if you're wanting to stay more open, Ironhide Legs is an absolutely fine pick. The only thing with Ironhide Legs that might make it a little bit shady if you're wanting to stay open is it does cut off Brute. As playing Brute, you really, really, really want the Shadow Brute legs. The hooves are very important to the strategy, being able to do 2 big attacks in one turn to really send it home and finish them off. The decks can sometimes struggle without those hooves to get through in the end. However, Ironhide Legs very good in Chain, just buying more time. Extremely good in Prism. All the Ironhides are, because finding some other ways of utilizing resources on your opponent's turn when you're doing instant speed stuff is very, very good. And obviously in Bolton, having a Boots isn't going to take in one of your important slots. You really like the arms, both the stubbies and the weapon-orientated arms as well. So you're pretty happy with Ironhide Legs in most decks. So it's definitely a very viable option. So to me, none of this stuff matters, none of this stuff matters. Looking at these two here. And I love Prism, not going to lie. So I'm going to bin off this Ironhide Legs, and I'm going to take this Herald of Rebirth. I'm going to lock this in.
Alright, another first pick, pack 1. And this pack is actually, to be honest, quite underwhelming in my opinion. I feel like there's no cards that absolutely strike out as powerhouses. I mean, you do have the single Herald of Rebirth. Picking this means that the person next to you gets a clear signal that Prism is getting kind of cut. Picking something from either the Chain or the Warrior here will mean that you kind of have a chance of getting another card going all the way around and coming back to you. So picking something like the Take Flight, which is really crucial in Bolton, Seeds of Agony, or maybe a Rip Through Reality. I feel like Seeds is actually the more versatile pick here for Chain, other than the Rip Through Reality. I mean, there's only one generic with Stony, this Stony boy here. Impenetrable Belief is kind of, it's okay, but it's not, I don't think it's first pickable. The Void Wraith is a cool pick to just commit to basically stay in the shadow classes. And Ironhide Legs, I feel like, is the pick that would leave you the most open and just kind of, you know that you're going to start the game with this in play. It's a generic, you can play it in anything. So I think here I would just commit to the Ironhide Legs and just stay open for the first pick.
Okay, so for this pack, what catches my eye initially, because I was like looking at the powerful cards, is I see a red Seeds of Agony, a red Rip Through Reality. So immediately I'm thinking there's some pretty solid Chain cards in this pack. My one issue with taking that is if you take a Chain card here, then you're also passing through some pretty solid picks. You don't want someone 2 spots to your left sees, there's a red Rip Through Reality. I'm definitely playing Chain, there's no one playing it, or something along those lines. So I am a little bit worried there. As far as the light cards go, there's a blue Seek Enlightenment that's fine as a just blue pitch card. Red Impenetrable Belief, it's okay. It's great against Chain, sometimes right against Bolton. The card that I'm really looking towards here, though, is the Herald of Rebirth and the Ironhide Legs. So we do have some good shadow cards here, the Void Wraith, the Blue Ghostly Visit. I'm kind of like... The Herald of Rebirth here, the thing I quite like about this is we're not passing really powerful light cards, I feel. But this is quite a strong Prism card. You take this card, the people to your left are going to be realizing there's no Prism cards in the pack, so you've obviously taken one. That's a bit of a signal to them. And I feel Prism, when you're picking up these premium cards early, you can actually start to put together a very strong deck. If you're in Prism early, you can start sort of hate drafting or cutting cards, generic 6 power cards as well, to stop people playing them against you in your draft pod. The other thing I would consider is the Ironhide Legs. I feel these get more valuable the more you have of them. If you have 3 Ironhide equipments, you kind of make your own unmovable, you pitch a blue card, you can block for 6. So I feel like maybe even Ironhide Legs is a very like safe pick here, but I like to keep it real. I'm taking Herald of Rebirth first pick.
Alrighty, Sasha back again for another Monarch pack one, pick one. As always, I like to take the highest risk or be as conservative as possible. What is the highest risk card here? The most narrow card is probably this Herald of Rebirth or Dreadwood Rumbler. It's only specific archetypes, but those don't really excite me too much. This Seeds of Agony Red is quite exciting. You want a bunch of those. I've lost to this card pretty much every time it's been played against me as well, so that piques my interest. Not sure what signals we'll be sending if we pick either of those. It's kind of spread evenly. There's no Illusionist cards if we take that. These kind of suck for Illusionist. So we could take the boring route and just take the regular card, but I think Illusionist is on everybody's radar. People like to have cards that defend, have 6 power to defend with. So you could start to draft the Sweet Seeds of Agony, but I've been dealt a lot of damage by this card, so I feel like it's my turn to give it back. So I'm going to take this Convulsions.
Alright, let's take a look at the rares that we opened, and we have a foil rare, and none of these rares are very exciting. Certainly playable, but not very exciting. Let's pull to the top some very strong cards. So we're going to pull to the top some good cards, and there is a lot of powerful red cards here. This pack is like quite nice, but there is absolutely no direction in this pack at all. Honestly, when I look at a pack like this, it's going to be like everyone's going to have a different opinion when you look at this pack, because there's no card that like completely screams out. So honestly, without even going deep into this pack, I wouldn't be surprised if everyone just picked a card based on personal preference here. If we actually just kind of look like what the ratio is spread out to try to get an idea of like what's going to happen later. And so the one thing we have going is if we put this Herald of Rebirth, it's probably not going to affect the draft that much. Even you might think, oh cool, I can pick a Hero Rebirth and ship everyone else into non-illusionists. But if you actually just look at this pack, like none of these cards although good, will really scream for someone to like completely change what they're picking. There's some very good cards like Rip for Reality, Seeds of Agony that's really necessary. But there isn't actually like a big reason for someone to get this pack and be like, oh, let's ditch Illusionists. But I will probably just pick this Herald of Rebirth anyways out of this pack. I'm happy to end up not going Illusionist, but it is one of the few powerful cards. It's on the same power level as like these cards, but I'm just going to pick the card that doesn't clash too much with other classes.
Hey folks, James White here with another Monarch pack one. Look, the thing that really stands out to me straight away in this pack is just like the lack of prism. We've got like the one prism specific card here, and then like some very sort of weak light generic cards to go with you. Like this would be the sort of the second best prism card in this pack. So that's kind of speaking to me quite strongly. Is I could take the Herald here and send a very strong signal to my left that they shouldn't be drafting prism. But I'm not a huge fan of Herald of Rebirth just in general. So the cards that I personally like to play with a lot from this pack is the Rip Through Reality and Seeds of Agony. I like these cards a lot. I also really like Express Lightning. Like for me, these are the cards that I want to be playing with. But picking one of these cards is not sending any particular signal to my left, which would be the weakness of one of these cards as my pick one here. Saying that though, I think it is really important to draft archetypes that you resonate with, and saying that I would probably pick one of these three cards. Which one would it be? The thing I like about the Express Lightning here is that the other two cards are getting shipped. It's just like they're okay. Like they're sort of fillers for a Bolton deck. Whereas if I picked a Seeds or the Rip, I'm also shipping like a top caliber card for a chain deck, so it's sending a very poor message to my left. If I took the Seeds here, the person to my left might take that signal as being like, yeah, they should jump into chain. So shipping that downstream could be good. I could put the two people to my left into chain. So based on that, I think for me, this card here also is like a good chain card as well. So it's like you're sending sort of a chain signal downstream. I think for me, I would take the Express Lightning. We're sending some, mediocre garbage down the line for a Bolton drafter, and this is like a top caliber card for a Bolton deck. I'm all in on Express Lightning.